So hello, good morning, and welcome everybody to this webinar to officially launch the CE Green Transport Initiative. My name is Claudia Patricolo, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Synergy News, and I will moderate this event. Synergy News is the English-speaking portal that is entirely focused on sharing news about the energy industry in Central and Southeastern Europe. And when it comes to decarbonization of the transport sector, Central Eastern European region has a lot of potential, but also is lagging a little bit behind, and there is a long way to go. Just to give you some numbers about the sector that we're talking about, last year, the International Energy Agency has released a very interesting report about the EV sector. And actually, although 2020 was a particular year, we all know why, and the auto industry actually contracted a little bit, the EV industry was booming. And it's a trend that we expect. I mean, people expect to continue. And it's important that it continues because we all know that the transport sector is one of the biggest polluters and the biggest emitters. In the European Union alone, it contributes to more than 1/3 of greenhouse gas emissions. But also we have to take into account different aspects, and this is also what we're going to talk about today, because the transport sector also employs 10 million people in Europe, and it contributes to 5% of the GDP. So it's quite a huge sector that we need to take into account. And we have seen very good commitments actually last year. From the European Commission, for example, at the end of the year, they published the Smart Mobility Strategy, and the objective in the long term in 2050 is to have all the transport industry carbon-free, basically. So from passenger cars to heavy-duty truck to the maritime sector to the aviation industry. To get there, we need gradual steps, basically. So, and a parallel investment in infrastructure. All these cars that the European Commission is expecting to be on our roads by 2030 will go nowhere if we don't build the right energy infrastructure and charging stations. And in this regard, Central and Eastern Europe is lagging a little bit behind due to historical reasons, economic reasons, due to delayed transport policies. And we all know that lagging behind is not something that is accepted anymore by the European Union. The core of the European Green Deal is a just transition. So don't leave anyone behind. And who knows better the region than its policymakers, its manufacturers, and its stakeholders. So this is why these kind of initiatives are important, because people can really talk and really spread the information from an internal point of view and put finally Central and Eastern Europe on the map of the e-mobility. After all, if Western countries ban diesel cars and then they are bought in second-hand markets like in Central and Eastern Europe, we're not going anywhere. So before starting, I wanted just to share also some good examples, because we said that Central and Eastern Europe is lagging behind, but there are also very good initiatives happening. For example, in the Czech Republic, only last year there were 3,000 new electric vehicles registered, and that's a very good number. Also in Hungary, there was a boom of over 50% last year alone, and the Green Bus program was launched. We have countries like Romania, for example, that are investing huge amount of money in the charging infrastructure, and they hope to make it available for the entire country by 2025. We have Poland, and we'll talk a little bit about it later, that aims to put 1 million of electric vehicles on its roads by 2025 again. So there are very nice and positive signs also from the regions. And today we're going to hear a very interesting perspective. So first of all, we will hear from the Polish Alternative Fuels Association and the Slovak Electric Vehicle Associations, who are the initiators of this project. We will then listen to Maroš Šefčovič, Vice President of the European Commission for Interinstitutional Relations, which will provide us with a new perspective, while Poland's Minister of Climate and Environment, Michał Kurtyka, will give us a Polish perspective on the situation. Then we will listen to Peter Badik, the CEO of Greenway, to gain some insight from a business point of view. And then we will finally have a little bit of a discussion, a chat with some of the CE stakeholders, where we share their thoughts on both the initiative and why is it important for their own countries and for the region as a whole. So I think I've spoken enough. So I would like to give this virtual floor to Alexander Reich from the Polish Alternative Fuels Association, which is the largest industry organization shaping the e-mobility and hydrogen technology in Poland, and to Patryk Kryzanski from the Slovak Electric Vehicle Association, which is a platform representing the private sector in the field of electromobility in Slovakia. So Patryk, Alexander, floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you. Very, very interesting and broad introduction. Patryk and I will present our presentation. I think it's now visible on the screen. The first, so we are overjoyed to host so many participants and so many stakeholders interested in the same goal as we are. If we could go back to the first slide, please. Yeah, and then the next one. So the CEE Green Transport Initiative, as we called it, was inspired by the Polish Alternative Fuels Association. We are the largest industry organization in our country, one of the largest in the region as well. We were joined in this initiative and with our partner organization SEVA, the Slovak EV Association, which I will also allow Patryk to introduce in just a number of slides. But above all, we have heard these voices. We have seen these signals from the market, from the CEE region, that such an initiative has to be convened. Now, I will repeat this on numerous occasions today, but surely one thing that is very important is that we are not convening a new NGO or organization or entity, but in turn, we are creating an initiative which will be supported and which will gather endorsement to achieve its main goals. And those goals are to enhance the transition of road transport to fully electric road transport, to a zero-emission, sustainable transport sector. And this surely relies on phasing out the combustion engines, the ICs, but actually also transforming the whole industry as it is. Please, the next slide. Now, as Poland, we are the largest economy of this region. We have these observations of the market that such action is required. Our market alone, with some great potential in terms of the battery sector, entailing the full life cycle production from components to the battery recycling facilities, our robust e-bus industry is still thwarted a little bit by the car park, which in terms of EVs is not very large, exceeding a little over 24,000. In terms of the EV charging infrastructure, just reaching a little over 2,500 charging stations. So we have broader perspectives, but still a lot to do. And I think it's the same for the entire region. So what we want to do is to gather all the stakeholders, all the players of this industry to pursue the goals that GTI was convened to pursue. And we are seeing in Western Northern Europe that EV sales are growing. This is also true for us, but we are still lagging behind. And this is because of some, let's say, challenge areas that need to be addressed. These challenge areas, we hope, will in turn become opportunity areas, solution areas. And the GTI is aiming to drive this progress even faster and bring the voice of the CEE to be the parallel voice of the entire Europe and the EU. Patryk, please take it away. And next slide, please.
Thank you, Alex. Obviously, we're not looking at our two countries only, Poland and Slovakia, although quickly, SEVA is actually representing almost the entire ecosystem in Slovakia, which is focused on electric vehicles and electrification of the transport. Maybe a quick perspective from the CEE. We are actually in line with the rest of Europe when we speak about EV stocks, for example. We doubled or even tripled the stocks of EVs all over the region. Actually, it's roughly 2 to 4% of all car sales. However, if we look, for example, on the average CO2 emissions, we are very, very far behind the first mover like the Netherlands or Denmark, Portugal, or France. When we compare this, actually, 83 grams per kilogram is the best in the Netherlands, and 119 grams per kilometers is actually the worst in Slovakia, and it's not much better in Czech Republic, Hungary, or Poland. What we, however, think that Central Europeans actually are not really polluted. We actually feel eco-friendly. Maybe one number: 79% of Czechs actually claim that they actually behave environmentally friendly or in environmentally friendly manner. What we actually feel that this region lacks not only faster market uptake of electric vehicles, but also quicker charging infrastructure rollout. If I borrow some numbers from the Connected Europe Facility funded projects like the East E, the positive attitude towards electric vehicles and electrified transport actually grows dramatically from some 40% to over 70% when there is a sufficient charging network. However, if we look at the rollout, there are major bottlenecks, particularly in terms of the permitting grid connection. Just to give you an example, Czech Republic, this is a good example how long the grid connection takes. It could be up to 600 days of grid connection permitting, and totally with all the permits, it's actually up to 2 years to build a charger, which is just too long if we talk not about pilot but about real rollout all over the country. We believe that we should be more ambitious, not only with the governments and cabinets, but also with the urban mobility. Just to give you an example, a good and positive would be Ljubljana with their green initiatives, urban initiatives. But Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia, has 78% of taxis running on Euro 5 and Euro 6 cars, and only less than 20% actually have the top 60 Euro class. So this is actually what makes the difference in the pollution. And by the way, pollution doesn't have borders. Actually, everything from the CEE goes to the west. So no CO2 emissions are only Central European. If I look at the next slide, please, Alex. If I look at the overall economies, actually, we are very much dependent on the car manufacturing. Slovakia is number one per capita, Czech Republic is number 2. Actually, many economies here depend on the automotive, with over 10% of GDP by several of them. And we are not actually focusing on electrified so rapidly as it would be wished for. Slovakia and Hungary has the highest share of electrified portfolio of total production, but maybe Romania is in this respect less developed. What we feel, which is what is very important for the region, is that the region actually becomes very slowly a grave of second-hand cars from the Western Europe. We feel that there is a strong push of importing of all diesels from Germany and other Western countries, where actually they're losing the value. And actually, we don't want to become the last place of passing away for all these highly polluting cars, because they are just cheap. Of course, we see the opportunities, and maybe the biggest opportunity is not only focusing on the production of electric vehicles, but also looking at the innovations. One of the good examples might be the battery industry, which is actually emerging very fast in Central Eastern Europe, particularly in V4 countries, with maybe Hungary and Poland leading the crowd. Just to give an example, Poland makes already 2 billion euro export in the battery sector. That was actually the figure from the last year. And there are plenty of new capacities in batteries in Poland, in Hungary, already in place and being expanded and planned for expansion. There are new initiatives for gigafactories in Slovakia with Inobat or with Volkswagen eventually in Czech Republic. So batteries are a typical typical production capacity, which can actually produce the production cluster. So in the future, we feel that this might be a kind of center for the next phase of automotive production in this region, which we might focus on. Alex, back to you.
All right, thank you. So next slide, please. All those challenging areas, all those problem areas, as I said, could be opportunity areas. For Poland, this is especially true. I will also tie in what Patrick said. 29 of the 100 most polluted cities are in Poland. So for us, this challenge is real, and we believe it's equally real for the same at the same level for the entire CEE region. We want, as GTI, to make a meeting place, not an NGO, not a new organization, not a competitive new entity, but a meeting place for all the stakeholders who are interested in expressing their voice and bringing up the CEE region to the same speed as the Western and Northern Europe. What that entails is the tools that we plan to use: policy papers, position papers, various activities like advocacy, like analysis and reports that we plan to publish. We will try to gather the support and the endorsement of the entire region, of all those players and stakeholders who are now very active on the national level, try to be active on the CEE region, broadly speaking, level, and they attempt to also push all their agendas and ambitious policies at the EU level, because this is exactly what this region needs. It needs ambitious policies. It needs accurate data and projections for this region that actually show reflection upon where we are right now as the CEE in a totally different place than other regions of Europe, mainly speaking Western Northern Europe. So we want to cooperate. We don't want to compete. We would like to invite all those who are willing to pursue the same goals to join us. We will soon launch a website dedicated to the GTI, to the Green Transport Initiative, which will also have our statement, our founding statement available, and it will be signed by us and all those who wish to join us. We are planning to reach out to all the stakeholders that we know of and who are interested in developing the e-mobility sector and driving the transformation to electric road transport to join us and to support this initiative. And of course, we are now working under the leadership of PSPA and SEVA. We have huge support at this level from various corporate partners, but first and foremost, Greenway. And thank you, Peter, for being with us as well in advance. And we think that this initiative has a lot of potential and that we have the capacity as the region to bring all those challenging goals to a successful end. And so thank you again. And Claudia, please, I pass the floor back to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter and Alexander. It was really, Patrick, sorry. It was really good to have this overview, and it's important to remember that CO2 doesn't know any border. So let me now turn to an European perspective, because that's what we talk about. We need more ambitions, we need more policies. So I would like to welcome Mr. Maros Šefčovič, Vice President of the European Commission for Interinstitutional Relations. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. It's indeed a pleasure to be part of this launch event to kick off the Central and Eastern Green Transport Initiative alongside Minister Kurtika, whom I know so well. The decarbonization and electrification of the road transport is a key part of our plans for greener Europe. But different regions will face different kinds of challenges in achieving these goals, which is why initiatives such as this one are so important, because it will provide supportive and professional voices from Central and Eastern Europe who understand the local conditions and market dynamics and see enormous potential in this region, as we just heard from previous speakers. I think it would be also important from the perspective to make sure that your voices are heard in Brussels and ensure that your opinions and your input are taken into account in our decision making. And I see it as a contribution to make sure that we would avoid the creation of two-speed Europe in terms of electrification of road transport, where some regions end up lagging behind others. On the contrary, I believe that Central and Eastern Europe can play a leading role in energy transition, including in areas like batteries and the development of electric vehicles. And the Central and Eastern Green Transport Initiative is in perfect position to make the most of this opportunity. Of course, it goes hand in hand with the measures we are taking at European level. This includes the Recovery and Resilience Facility. Here we are talking about the next generation EU recovery plan, altogether 750 billion of euros, which I see as a one in a lifetime chance and opportunity for Europe to emerge stronger from the pandemic with our economies transformed. I'm sure that you noted that President of the European Commission started the tour across the Europe, actually launching the approved plans with the heads of states and government, and that we had this very successful issuance of bonds, which would bring the necessary financing opportunities to come up with a very clear, concrete financial support for the national plans. So the national plans, which have been drawn by the member states and which are being approved as we speak, would be indeed significant investment to create new jobs, growth, and will lead to the necessary acceleration of the twin green and digital transition. Through these national plans, the member states will be able also to use this unprecedented level of funding where it is needed the most. For example, one of the flagship areas under these new facilities is a recharge and refuel, which aims to promote sustainable transport and charging station. And I think here, as we have heard in the discussion so far, we of course need to focus a lot, because the dynamics on the electric vehicle market is huge. Last year we became #1 place in the world if it comes to placement of the electric vehicles on the market. We sold more than 1 million of them, which is more than in China. And this year, this trend is just accelerating. And of course, for electric vehicles, you need the charging infrastructure. And therefore, we want to make sure that by the end of this decade, we will have 3 million of charging points across the European Union. And we have to make sure that it will be done in a geographically fair manner, because so far 75% of the current charging capacity is located in 3 member states, in Germany, France, and Netherlands. So there is a lot of work to be done by us on the EU level, but especially by you in the regions where we need to speed up and accelerate our efforts to make sure that once you have electric vehicle, you can travel freely across the whole European Union. In addition to all that, next month we will put forward our Fit for 55 package, which will look to enhance emissions trading, boost renewable energy, improve energy efficiency, and reform energy taxation as we work to meet the target of reducing emissions by 55% by 2030. Included in this package will be also the revision of the directive of deployment of alternative fuel infrastructure, which, as I said, is very critical for the rollout of charging stations across the continent, and where, as I just described a minute ago, we need really to put a lot of effort so we would have this very continuous and well-spread charging infrastructure across Europe. So all this is bringing us back to today's launch event, because I think we would all agree that these are very exciting times, because we are indeed looking into building a better future for Europe. We are going to have Europe which would be more resilient, greener, digital, and therefore the initiatives such as yours and discussions like you're having will have my full support because they are underlying the potential in our regions. So I wish you all the best. And of course, I'm very much looking forward to hearing about your work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice President Šefčovič, for your speech. If I may follow up just a little bit, because you said that we need to make it fair and geographically fair distributed. So what kind of a concrete contribution do you expect to come from the CEE region? You said that the European Union is ready to make commitments, but it also has to come from us, let's say. So what do you expect to come from the region?
As I said, I think the most tangible area where we can make, I think, very good progress is the implementation of the recovery and resilience plan. I was just the president of the European Commission in Slovakia just a couple of days ago, and she's visiting country one by one. And of course, at least 37% of this huge financial envelope, which is coming to all our member states, as I said, 750 billion euro package, has very clear priorities, and being greener, meaning 37% of this money should go to climate-related projects, and of course the building of the charging infrastructures is clearly one of them. So I think it's now up to the member states and the associations like yours to prepare good projects, to push the concrete plans across to the table of national governments and the European Commission. That this is one of the projects you attach a lot of importance, and there is a funding for this, and that you are ready to do it. So I know that in the case of Slovakia, we've been talking about at least 3,000 new charging stations to be built in the time frame of next 2 to 3 years, because these recovery plans should kind of be wrapped up around 2025. So it's very short time span, huge financial injections, and therefore we need very good projects. And one more thing I would mention, yesterday we launched also the work of Horizon Europe, which is the biggest publicly funded research and innovation program in the world. We are talking almost about 100 billion euros, and almost 1 billion euros is devoted, allocated for the battery initiative. It means very clear focus on how we can make the batteries greener, more sustainable, with a bigger range, better performance, fully recyclable. And that's something in which I hope that, again, also researchers and innovators from Central and Eastern Europe would participate, because let's be honest, until now, the Central and Eastern Europe was not super strong if it comes to use this horizontal research and innovation funding and programs. So these are very two concrete examples. I'm talking about the huge sums of money, but to make sure that they are used properly and used in our geographical locations, we have to come with a good projects for using the recovery plans and with a good research and innovation ideas to make it through in this tough competition for Horizon Europe programs.
Thank you, Mr. Šefčovič. So it's really good to hear. We hope to hear very soon. We're looking forward to new proposals coming from the region. Thank you very much for joining us. So now let's move to thank you again. So let's move to a CEE perspective, in particular, a Polish perspective, and let's hear a message that is coming from the Minister for Climate and Environment, Michał Kurtyka.
Good morning, and welcome to all those who choose to take part in this discussion. And I thank and commend the organizers and initiators for launching this venture. And especially in Poland, the largest market of Central Eastern Europe, we understand how important it is right now to be able to pursue an ambitious goal related to the decarbonization and electrification of road transport, but doing it together as a region. So we see today how the trend towards the electrification of road transport in Europe is advancing extremely rapidly. Poland, together with our friends from the Central Eastern Europe region, fully support digital and green post-COVID recovery and the EU Green Deal. And we see vehicle electrification playing a prominent and essential role in this trend. Bearing in mind that large parts of Europe are moving swiftly towards the widespread electrification of road transport, we in our regions should accelerate this transformation. This is an issue that needs to be addressed by the entire electromobility community because it will create also a new value chain, including companies, public administration, non-governmental organizations, and academic experts. It's another trend to be seized, and it's another niche to be developed ahead of us. And in order to do that, we have to set ambitious goals in order to pursue the development already attained by many EU states, and we have to endeavor to achieve this as particular nations as well as the entire region. Yes, indeed, we have a lower per capita GDP. Yes, we have strong second-hand car markets and large transport sectors. CEE countries have unique characteristics and are often overlooked or mischaracterized in European level discussion around e-mobility. However, we as active players, contributors and developers of the market in CEE have the best awareness of the situation in our countries. We see high demand for cleaner air, cleaner energy and cleaner transport options, which should lead to ambitious development and deployment of e-mobility solutions and zero-emission transport in our region. And this is the moment to work together to develop and accelerate the growth of zero-emission road transport network, generate overall support for zero-emission electric road transport activities, ventures and initiatives to achieve the cleaner future we know is possible to achieve. Furthermore, it's the time to make the entire EU community work on developing electric transport as a reality together. The CEE Green Transport Initiative is an important step towards the right direction, one where we breathe cleaner in our cities and travel lightly without any negative impact for the environment. This is a goal we support fully, especially that it falls within the ideas of our Driving Change Together partnership initiated at COP24 and since then developed year by year annually in the form of a worldwide conference. I hope that all those who are currently involved in the much needed, tedious process of developing zero-emission road transport join this initiative so that we can reach these goals faster and more efficiently. Thank you very much for inviting me to this important event, and I hope that the discussion and presentations today will be fruitful and the GTI will thrive to support our common goals. Let's remember that it is really time to act together to bring forth a new quality of cooperation, stimulate electric mobility, zero-emission transport as a reality in our region, and make sure our region does its part to meet European ambitious goals.
So thank you to Minister Kurtyka for his contribution. It's nice to see that the Polish government is committed to the e-mobility sector. I think we can say that there are 3 A's, which are the most important aspects. So we could talk about ambitions, we talk about accelerations, that's what we heard. And now it's time to talk about actions. So we turn to the business sector and see what's the business point of view. And I would like to welcome now Peter Badik, who is the co-founder and managing partner of Greenway, which builds and operates the largest public EV charging station in Slovakia and the region. So Peter, welcome. Over to you.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, everybody. And I'm really honored to be part of this launch event of this very important initiative. Let me add a few words and comments from the position of the industry and from the position of the company who is leading charging service provider in Central and Eastern Europe. We're doing this business for more than 10 years, and therefore we see extreme urgency for activities like this one. It is extremely important that we focus more on this region. We can observe, and it was several times here, that the basis for the future growth, even in our region, is very strong. But nevertheless, we are concerned that the prospects going forward, including some research coming from the reputable institution, saying that the speed of the development of electromobility and adoption of electric cars doesn't have to be so quick and so strong as we would like to be. And obviously, what we want to see and what we want to avoid is the risk, as was already mentioned, that we will see the two-speed Europe in terms of the adoption of electric cars. But this kind of a perspective, this kind of assumptions should not lead us to some kind of a resignation. Other way around. I think if this is a true and if this is a prospect, we need to try harder. We need to do more. We need to focus more. We just need to bring more things on the table and more activities which will actually proven that these perspectives are wrong, and then we are in Central and Eastern Europe, but as well in the south of Europe, are able to develop fast in electromobility. And actually, if the requirement for our industry is to work harder and to move faster, then we are more than ready for that. Actually, we are working in this environment for some time. As was mentioned, the adoption of electric car vehicles at the moment in Central and Eastern Europe is lower than in other parts of Europe. And despite of this fact, the industry, or if I can say about the industry of charging, is flourishing here. We have not only our companies, but many other companies are working hard to deliver the charge structure to support the rollout of electric vehicles. We absolutely understand that the charging infrastructure cannot be the bottleneck for the rollout of the electric vehicles. It cannot be the excuse for other players why not to push the things faster and harder. Or I can strongly confirm that in this region, the industry of a charging business, charging providing of charging services, is already strong and mature. We are able to activate significant human resources, significant financial resources, great know-how. We are employing more and more people every year. We are ready to support the electromobility. Let me add one important comment to all these discussions and topics. I strongly believe that the transformation of the transportation business and transportation industry in general is still only at the beginning. Like everywhere in Europe, despite the fact that we see some better achievements and not so good achievements, everywhere, almost everywhere, we are just at the beginning. There is a lot of work of us in Europe, and there is a lot of decisions which we need to do. And I see a very big risk, as was mentioned by Commissioner Šefčovič, if we will have a two-speed Europe, if we will have regions in the south or in the east, which will not develop as fast as others, that the many decisions in Europe which we need to do will be very hard to make. There will be fractions, there will be a lot of discussions, and maybe discussions which are not very useful, where basically we will be very hard to find a harmonized word. And the scale of the challenge which is in front of us is such a big that I'm strong to believe that we are competing now against other parts of the globe, other parts of the world, and we as a Europe cannot be fragmented in this effort. So therefore, I think principally we should not agree with the premise that we will have a two-speed Europe in terms of EV adoption, as we should not have a two-speed Europe in terms of the adoption of other technologies, which are extremely important for the future of our world and our common European home. So with this word, I would like to thank you all who are involved in preparation of this extreme initiative. We are at the very beginning. We are just launching it. I think most of the work is just in front of us, and I'm extremely happy that we will support this and make sure that when we go back in a few years, we can say that nothing like two-speed Europe in electromobility is a reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter, for your contribution. It's good to hear that you are ready to step up in the electromobility, and you believe that the region is ready. It's good to know that there is the know-how, there are the people, and there is the willingness. So, for example, Mr. Šefčovič before was mentioning the Fit for 55 package that is coming. So we are waiting for actually an important package of legislation and a lot of revisions. How can the European Union help, do you think, the industry and companies in this regard? In the short term, because it's something that is coming now.
Indeed. There are several things. The first one is obviously the showing the direction. Extremely important, and for this region, in innovative technologies, innovative industries, it was always important, and I think it's still valid and true. The second thing is obviously a support. This region, as well as all other regions in Europe, benefited significantly from previous funding mechanisms, like Connected Europe Facility, for example. So this is something which needs to continue. It needs to be maybe just because of the things which we are talking today, maybe the focus needs to be even stronger on this region. So that's and the conditions for those who are willing to participate in the growth of the charging infrastructure. That's my area where I can talk about. It needs to be such a way that the projects will be run here and will be executed. And but what is as well important is as well some kind of a pressure, to be honest, on the local governments. We have and we have to admit that the level of the, let's say, commitment between the different governments in Central and Eastern Europe and in South Europe is not the same. And sometimes we simply need to repeat how important it is. And in this respect, I think the Commission can help us as an industry or help associations like PSPA or SEVA to achieve this push and this pressure.
Thank you, Peter. So, well, I think that then everybody's on the same page. You all want to be heard, so we will see what will come in the next months. So, thank you for joining us. We now move from some players now in the region. Now, let's see how e-mobility looks like in some specific countries and what stakeholders believe it's the best way forward. So first of all, I would like to introduce you Maria Tsavichtidis, who is the CEO of EIT Urban Mobility. I hope I pronounced your name right. I promise that I tried before. So the EIT Urban Mobility is a European knowledge and innovation community which serves to accelerate the transition towards sustainable urban mobility. So Maria, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Claudia, and you did very well, so good pronunciation. So first off, so Alexander and Patrick, congratulations really to launching this important initiative. It is very encouraging to see this great ambition, and we certainly share the vision to accelerate transition towards green transport and, as was said before, to build a better Europe for all. So for that, we need strong collaboration and we need knowledge sharing across geographies and players in the market to achieve this. And this is also a vision that we share. So what is EIT Urban Mobility? Maybe, Claudia, can you share the slides? Yes, so the next one. So the European Institute of Innovation and Technology for Urban Mobility, as said, is a knowledge and innovation community. It's a public and private partnership and was launched in 2019, and we are supported by the European Union and under Horizon Europe. So this research and innovation program that was mentioned before by Maros Šefčovič. And our mission is to accelerate the change towards sustainable urban mobility and more livable cities. And what is sustainable mobility for us? Of course, it means mobility that is green, mobility that is safe, that is affordable, accessible for all European citizens. And that also means that we cannot have two Europes. So we need to bring in the CEE and other slower innovating regions. And this is why we also put a very strong focus on what we call the regional innovation scheme. So bringing those regions into our activities and into our community. So our main goal here is to foster entrepreneurship and innovation, and to bridge the gap between research and the market. And to do that, we support industry players to bring new solutions to the market. We support startups to be successful with their innovations and their new businesses, and we support students to become entrepreneurs. So for that, the community runs activities in 3 main areas. So that is education. So for instance, we have a dedicated master's degree program. We have also a competence hub that provides professional education. But then, so the main leg is really innovation projects to pilot and implement and scale new solutions in cities. And of course, supporting startups to develop their businesses and find the right partners in the ecosystem and find investors. So next slide, please. What is unique about the partnership? So we bring together, and this is very important, all players in the ecosystem, very much like GTI is now doing for the CEE and around e-mobility. So cities, citizens, businesses, both big corporations and small and medium-sized companies and startups, and as well universities and research organizations. And currently we have around 230 partners from more than 20 countries who are engaged in our activities, and more than 80 startups that we support. And we do have a large partner community with a strong presence and focus in CEE countries. So to name a few, we now have a focus right now on Czechia and Hungary, or that has been the focus, let's say, in the first 2 years. But now we want to actually have the broader coverage. So we support the local innovation ecosystems all across CEE, and we operate through a hub model, and we can see that on the next slide. We currently run 5 innovation hubs in Barcelona, in Munich, in Helmond, in Copenhagen, and we have the Innovation Hub East in Prague. And additionally, we have a growing number of smaller regional nodes, especially in the CEE, like Poland, Croatia, Slovenia, Serbia, Latvia, but also Slovakia. And thanks to this broad geographical coverage, we can identify what are the specific needs in the CEE regions to make progress faster, and what are those opportunities also that we can support with dedicated activities. So I think there's a strong case for collaboration here, so we can support hopefully your activities around e-mobility and around the adoption of green mobility in the CEE regions, and help the ecosystem to create good projects and tap into funding instruments like the recovery funds that had been mentioned before. So our team from Eastern Hub will stay in close contact with your initiative, and I hope that we have the opportunity to collaborate closely and to help the transition to electric and green mobility together. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, for your presentation. Now I would like to welcome other 2 speakers so that we can have also a little bit of chat on what is the point of view from 2 different countries. So I would like to welcome Dino Novoshel, who is the head of e-mobility at Fraski Telecom in Croatia, and Lukas Prskave, who is the external affairs coordinator at Skoda Auto. If you can join us.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm Lukas from Skoda Auto.
Okay, Lukas, we can see you, we can hear you. Dino, are you here? Okay, well, maybe he will connect soon. Well, in the meantime, while we wait for Dino to join us, Lukas, you have this manufacturing perspective now, actually. So how do you do you see the manufacturing sector actually transformation looking in Europe?
Sure. Thank you for having me today. Yes, I'm here to present like a Central European-based car producer, and I would like to mention several points which are important or crucial for us. The first one is that we at Škoda Auto, we are part of the Volkswagen group. We consider the discussion on climate change to be important, and we are ready to contribute to the decarbonization process. Therefore, all our production plants in the Czech Republic will be CO2 neutral by 2025. And what's even more important, we are heavily investing into the electromobility, which is, from our point of view, the most advanced technology that can be used immediately to meet ambitious climate change goals. I would like to stress out the importance of the successful transition of the automotive sectors in the Czech Republic and other CEE countries. To give you an idea, the automotive industry accounts for almost 10% of Czech GDP and directly employs 180,000 people. So by far the most important sector for the Czech Republic. Therefore, we see a holistic approach to this transition will be needed, and it consists several important points. The first one will be localizing the production of batteries and complete value chain in Europe. You may have noticed the Volkswagen plans to build 6 gigafactories in the EU in next several years. Another important point from our point of view is training the employees to give them new set of skills. It's so-called upskilling and reskilling. And the last point I would like to mention is the charging infrastructure. We have heard already several speakers talking about that, so I would just like to mention it one more time. From the car producer perspective, it's important and crucial to have broad enough structure of charging infrastructure. And what's maybe even more important from our point of view is the collaboration with governments and local governments as well. We definitely need their support, and we in the Czech Republic still can see sometimes the discussion if we do really want or if we do really need the transition to clean mobility. We at Škoda Auto see this discussion as a train which has already left the station. We can't wait 5, 10 or 20 years to see how it goes. We must act now. And I'm glad that even politicians in the Czech Republic start to see importance of this transition. Therefore, we very much welcome the readiness of the government of the Czech Republic to invest more than 600 million euros in charging infrastructure in the coming years, partially from the recovery fund Mr. Šefčovič mentioned. But as I said, more support will be definitely needed. And it is not only about finance. Patrick, for example, already mentioned, I would say, extreme length of building permits for charging infrastructure. And one last point I would like to say, and it fits to the mentioned holistic approach. I'm glad we are finalizing the establishment process of a new e-platform in the Czech Republic. Its purpose is to harmonize the needs of the automotive, energy sector, state administration, universities, and all other important stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucas. Is Dino with us? Is Dino with us? Can you hear us or? Not really. Okay. Well, then let me follow up with you, Lucas, because you said that you're ready to make huge steps in the electromobility and everything. So there is a lack of infrastructure, and maybe it's also a financial issue, but do you think that the region is lacking ambition as well? Why do you think it's really lagging behind?
It's hard to say. I would say it's partly a political narrative that the clean mobility or electromobility is something which was forced to us, which is not given by the market. It's was given to us by the bad Brussels, whatever you want. So I think that this narrative is changing slowly, but there's a lot of work which needs to be done. So from my point of view, it's definitely we need product, but I believe we at Škoda Auto are hardly working on it. We need charging infrastructure. That's where we need definitely support from the government, as I said. And we need, let's say, discussion for the customers to explain all the pros, all the advantages of electromobility, because we are still lacking behind us. So that's what I see as the main problems so far.
Yeah, also the end users are important at the end of the day, because we are the ones driving the cars. So how do you think, for example, that these kind of initiatives can help in phasing out internal combustion engines?
Definitely we can help to open the discussion which is needed. We need to push this topic to the media. We need to push this topic to schools. We need to push this topic to the general discussion. I don't know if you see the advertisement on the European or the World Ice Hockey. We have a new Škoda Enyaq, so we were trying to explain that you can use it. It's nothing from the future. You can use it now, and that's important. At least in the Czech Republic, people still don't really believe the electromobility is the winner.
Mm-hmm. Well, but it was good to hear before, for example, also that there is people still feel that they could be eco-friendly. They have a positive attitude also from these countries. So thank you, Lucas, for your contribution and for joining us. I will give a last try to see if Dino Novosel is connected. Since in the past year, organizing online events sometimes is a little bit more challenging than having in-person ones. All these technical issues can happen. So I still don't think he's here with us. So I would like to thank everybody that joined us today for the launch of this initiative. I really wish the very best luck to all the projects that are out there and to the initiative as well. As Lucas just said, actually, it's also my job, in a sort of way, as a media to spread the word. So let's make people aware that electromobility is an option, and is a good option actually in the short term. We hope. We heard very good things, very positive commitment from governments, from Poland, from the European Union. We're really looking forward to see what the Fit for 55 package will include, because as also Mr. Šakovič said, the president of the European Commission is touring Europe for the Recovery Fund. This is a huge opportunity also for Central and Eastern European member states to step up their ambitions. So again, I thank everybody who joined us, and I wish you a very nice rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye.